Hey, it's Kevin. Thank you so much for stopping by for another No BS social media chat. Last week, if you haven't seen last week's, I'd advise going back and checking that out when we talked about politics, sex, and religion. Or really when we talked about not talking about politics, sex, and religion. But more importantly, I want to touch on kind of the antithesis of that. I told you what I thought you should stay away from for your personal branding, for, well, the betterment of building a fan base. And this week I want to talk about, well, I want to ask about what interests you. I think one of the most fascinating things I've found through social media is how much I learn about my friends, my fans, my followers, about them as people. And more importantly, they learn about me. You know, it's funny, there are more people who I've run into now in person who said, I didn't know you were such a fan of neon signs. I didn't know you had, I don't want to say an obsession, who had a fascination with the ghost ad signs, the ghost signs, if you will. They used to be, the advertisements that used to be painted on walls or on Route 66, or just some of the weird little, traits I have. I mean, for years, everybody knew I was a big fat guy, so I like to eat, and I like tacos, and I like donuts, and I like burgers, and I like good food, and that was pretty obvious, and we could chat about that, or I talked about that. But a lot of times, especially when I was on the radio, I really didn't have an avenue to talk about neon signs, because you never knew who cared, because you were talking to a mass of 20 to 100,000 people at any one given moment, and how many of those people really cared about that? Well, I've learned over the course of the last few years through social media, as I allow my personality to get out there, that people are learning more about me. I talk more about different formats of music. I mean, for years working in the country music industry exclusively, you didn't talk on the radio, on a country music radio station, you didn't talk about your love for rap or funk or classic rock or anything like that. You may touch on it here and there, but you didn't go into deep discussions about it. I didn't tell people on the country music radio station that my first concert was Parliament Funkadelic back in the 70s. It really didn't fit. Now I can talk about those loves. I can talk about the parts of me. And the people who are interested are going to be interested, and the people who aren't. But people are finding out just some of my hobbies and some of my interests and finding out more about me. And that's really what the goal of social media is about. So even if you're using social media for your professional life, give people a glimpse into your world. Now again, I've always got caveats with those things. I understand about security. I understand about not wanting people to know where you live, where you're at that given moment, or a lot of things about your kids, and I respect that and understand that. I grew up in a household where my father was a small town television celebrity. So everybody in town knew who I was. And so when my dad would do little Christmas commercials or things like that, or do little bits about the family, he always brought us out and we were a part of it. Now, I didn't really have a choice, and there was an upside and a downside to that. There were moments when I really wish I could be, a little anonymous, if you will, but in the small town we grew up in, there really was no chance of being anonymous. And so I learned how to mix and merge in that. So again, when it comes to privacy and family and the things you don't want people to see, that's okay not to share them. I'm just saying, give people a little glimpse into your personality, a little glimpse into what you're interested in. You know what? If you're a big Pittsburgh Steelers football fan, like my buddy Larry is, it's okay to be a big Pittsburgh Steelers football fan on a regular basis. I've got a lot of friends who are Chicago Cubs fans, much like I am, but I don't talk about it a lot because I don't want to say I'm a fair weather Cubs fan anymore, but I'm not that big a baseball fan. I kind of follow it, not as much as my wife, but I'll talk about it around the playoffs or things like that, and I'll get behind the team. But I'm always kind of sitting there and checking the stands, but I'm not watching every single game on TV like my wife's dad is, So it's important to, again, allow a glimpse into who you are, and more importantly, what interests you, so people can get a better idea of who you are, where you come from, what you're about, and more importantly, to give them something to connect with. When I was in country music radio, I found, because I grew up, I was born in Chicago and grew up all over America and traveled a lot and had a lot of experiences and met a lot of famous people because of who my father was, I didn't share a lot of the same values, beliefs, hobbies, traits as the people I was talking to on the radio. I mean, the stereotypes for country music, while there are some truth to them, there are a lot of people who like hunting and fishing and camping and things like that, none of which interested me. So I couldn't talk about that with my listeners. But I found I could bond with the country music audience on NASCAR. I love NASCAR, they love NASCAR, and because everywhere I went then, at every radio station, I became the NASCAR guy. And I was probably the biggest NASCAR fan on staff at almost any radio station I ever worked at, except when I worked in Charlotte. And that gave me a chance to be able to connect and bond with people. I still bond with people to this day on social media every Sunday, whether I'm watching the race, listening to the race, or just kind of checking my smartphone to see what's going on in the race. I've got my social media friends who know I'm into NASCAR, who know I follow NASCAR, and are into it with me as well. Again, a little glimpse into who you are is going to go a long way with social media. So think about it. Step back and think, what interests you and what are you willing to share with your friends, your fans, and your followers? And again, going back to last week, as long as it's not sex, politics, and religion, I think we're good. Next week, another No BS social media chat. NoBSSocial.com is the main website where all the videos, the 100+ videos are. You can also find us. We load them up on Facebook too. We also throw them up on YouTube as well. So again, I don't care where you watch. I don't care how you share them with your friends. It's not about website clicks or anything like that. It's just about sharing the information and giving you food for thought each and every week. And we'll be back next week. Thanks. Have a good one.